Hi, I am Alexis Perez. I am a student in the program Maestría en Ciencias en Biodiversidad y Conservación at the Universidad Autónoma del Estado de Hidalgo in Mexico. I talk about paleodemography and paleoecological considerations from one of the most common species from the late Pleistocene of Mexico, Equus conversidens. Studies about paleopopulation dynamics of mammals appeared at the beginning of the second half of the last century. Björn Curtin is considered pioneering in this research area. Work of Curtin were based on the study of population ecology of Devi 1947. Other studies like Spinach 1972 provide the basis to build time-specific life tables from dead samples of populations of zebras and other ungulates. On the other hand, studies like Klinger 1969 provide information to estimate fecundity rates in paleopopulations of equids. The age structure of paleopopulation and survival strategies were the paleodemographic issues addressed in these first works. Studies later, from 2010, the studies of population dynamics of equids and other extinct mammals addressed issues such as projection of population growth and change and perturbation of the age structure. The methods in these new paleodemographic studies were based on mathematical and algebraic algorithms for studies of Leslie 1945, Cogley 1977, Coswell 2001, and others. The studies about population dynamics of extinct equids are relatively scarce. Columns 1 and 2 of the table show studies of some population from Oligocene to late Pleistocene. The studies of population from the Holocene were of extant populations made by ecologists. The bar graph shows that the main methods employed through the last century have been mortality profiles and life tables. However, other ways such as projection matrices and elasticity analysis have been used in recent studies to complete information obtained from mortality profiles and life tables. Several of these studies come from localities in USA and France. Concerning the above, these studies' objective was to analyze and compare the population dynamics of Equus conversidens, employed different methods to obtain information about the most sensible parameters of the population and from the primary factors involved in the mortality of Equus conversidens. This slide shows the map of the study area. The fossil material of Equus conversidens comes from 7 near localities at the southeastern Hidalgo. Localities are Las Cajas, El Barrio, Barranca San Agustín, El Berrendo, Jahue Viejo, Piedras Negras, and Ventoquipa. This slide shows lithostratigraphic correlation and generalized lithostratigraphy of the fossil localities, which indicates that fossil sample comes from fluvial sediments. The material belonging to bison and Panthera atrox is related to Rancho La Brea, North American land mammal age. However, the identification of bison anticus indicates that the maximum age of the fossil-bearing deposits is of about 60,000 years. In this work, we follow these 5 steps. 1. Fossil sample of Equus conversidens was characterized such as paleopopulation. 2. We evaluate the different preservation of the sample. 3. We estimate the relative abundance of individuals. 4. We estimate the age of the individuals. And 5. We analyze the population dynamics of Equus conversidens. A paleopopulation consists of different cohorts through time and retains the essential traits of an extant population. For example, genetic flow, age structure, inbreeding, and morphometric traits without significant variation. We follow the method of McFadden 2008 to characterize the paleopopulation of Equus conversidens from Hidalgo. The analysis shows that the coefficient of variation of morphometric dental characters such as anteroposterior length and transverse width is 7.55% and 5.59% respectively. These values fall between 4% and 10%, the interval of variation observed in paleo and extant populations of equids. We evaluate the percent of differential preservation using the equation of Brain 1981. The obtained value is 89%, similar to values reported in closed environments like caves. This percent suggests that taphonomic process less modified the original fossils bearing deposits and that dental frequencies are not subestimated. We estimate the relative frequencies of individuals of each locality using the minimum number of individuals index and the number of identified specimens index. We estimate the age of the individuals according to the method of Fernandez et al. 2017. For example, to an upper 4 premolar, first we measured the crown height in millimeters. Then we localized the median values of the regression coefficients to the upper 4 premolars in the table provided by Fernandez et al. 2017. These values, together with the measure of crown height, were substituted into the predictive equation. This equation returns the median age of each specimen or individual. Finally, we estimate the minimum and maximum age, subtracting and adding the value of mean prediction error to this dental position to the value of median age. In the paleodemographic analysis, we employed bar graphs, a ternary plot, lab tables, survivorship curves, and projection matrices. We built the bar graphs from percentage of individuals in age category. We construct the ternary plot of mortality followed to Discam and Costamagno 2015. According to observed in step 3, we assume a potential ecological longevity of about 24 years to Equus conversidens. We were using 3 age categories: juvenile, prime adults, and all adults. These categories represent 12.5%, 50%, and 37.5%, respectively, of the potential ecological longevity. We plot these percent in a ternary plot, and we obtain the point in which proportion of juvenile, prime adults, and all adults are equals. Then we draw the boundaries of the mortality zones like shown in subsections A, B, C, and D. Thus, we will finally left with a diagram of 4 zones as shown in subsection E. Next, we plotted the percentage of juveniles, prime adults, and all adults of age-selected equid population in this ternary plot. We construct time-specific life tables. This model is suitable because it considers individuals of all age of different cohorts and multiple deposits over time. In this regard, 2 assumptions were taken into account. One, time-specific life tables are female-dominated models. This implies a sex ratio at the birth of 1:1. And 2, the migration process did not influence the age structure. We estimate the parameters of life tables and we standardized life tables to tables of age intervals of 1 year of duration follow the procedures of Fernandez et al. 2017. We built survivorship curves from data of standardized life tables. We performed a nonlinear regression based on the Gompertz growth model. A confidence interval of 95% was obtained from 10,000 bootstrap samples to support statistically the shape of the survivorship curves. To projection of the population of Equus conversidens, we build prebreeding matrices, assuming that the cohorts represent a census before the reproductive season. The data entered in prebreeding matrices are the same as in standardized life tables. The first row contains the age-specific fecundity rates, while the diagonal contains the age-specific survival rates. The state vector was obtained from survivorship as the fraction of the number of individuals of 1 year. The new vector was the new number of individuals of the projected population. For elasticity analysis, we use the values of prebreeding matrix. The analysis was performed in PubTools 3.06. The new matrix contains in the first row the elasticity values of fecundity, while the diagonal contains the elasticity of survival. Then we plotted in a ternary plot 1. The sum of the values of elasticity fecundity. 2. The sum of the values of elasticity of survival from 0 to 3 years. And 3. The sum of the values of the elasticity of the survival of more than 3 years. Mortality profiles of Equus conversidens shows a shape bell age distribution. Hunting in prime adults can produce these mortality profiles. The individuals of age between 6 to 9 years are the most representative. This could be the result of accumulation through time, where predation has an important role. Other populations like Equus lambe from Bluefish Cave, Canada, Equus musvacensis from Baux de la Bessière, and Equus germanicus from Fauven, France, show this same mortality pattern. The predominance of young adults and mature adults indicates a mortality pattern known as prime dominate. The prime dominate mortality profile is related to both selective hunting by humans and hunting by non-human predators. For example, the mortality profile of Equus lambe was the result of human activities and the hunting of large predators like wolves, lions, and bears. The mortality profile of Equus musvacensis was the result of strategies of selective hunting by Neanderthals, while mortality profile of Equus germanicus is the result of scavengers' activities. The Equus conversidens sample from Hidalgo does not show direct or indirect evidence of humans in the study area. However, the fossil remains were associated with large predators like direwolf Canis dirus and the American lion Panthera atrox, which suggests that mortality profile of Equus conversidens was the result of the activity of these predators. The standardized life tables show the vital statistic of the population of Equus conversidens from Hidalgo. In both scenarios, the net reproductive rate R0 is greater than 1, suggesting a population growth. We found that all survivorship curves of the selected equid populations have concave shapes, which is related to survivorship curves type 1 according to Davy, 1947. Moreover, these curves are typically in populations of large mammals, which are classified as key strategies regarding the RK selection adequacy theory. The most similar survivorship curves to the curves of The population of Equus conversidens from Hidalgo is from Equus mosvacensis from Beau-de-la-Bessière, France, in which selective hunting on Neanderthals regulated the age structure. According to the observed in extant populations of the blind zebra Equus quagga, survivorship of juveniles in Equus conversidens from Hidalgo could be related to the care of adults or the relative protection conferred on them by staying within family groups or harems. Survivorship begins to fall in the prime adults, which could be related to selective hunting strategies by predators, which in turn will prefer large prey that will provide them with high compensation rates for energy expenditure. The population projection of Equus conversidens and the selected populations of equids shows values of population growth rates greater than 1, except for population of Equus zebra. For populations with positive growth, the average asymptotic growth rate is 1.06, which suggests populations with stable growth and non-impacted age structures. The transient dynamics of selected equids populations were explored by projection of the values of asymptotic growth rate, or lambda, and by the analysis of damping ratio values, or rho. The larger the value of rho relative to unity, the faster the value of lambda will stabilize. However, values of rho or damping ratio of selected equid populations are slightly greater than 1, suggesting that stabilization of the growth and age structure was not so quickly. We can corroborate this in the graph on the right side, which shows that the value of lambda in most populations stabilized after projection number 25. Ternary plot of elasticity analysis of selected equid populations indicates that survival compared to fecundity is the most sensitive demographic parameter that influences population growth. All selected equid populations fall within slow area in ternary plot, which also reflects the theory of fast-slow continuum life histories. These results are related to the life histories of large mammals, characterized by the late maturity, considerable ecological longevity, high survival rates, and relative low fecundity rates. The actual blind zebra Equus quagga have a similar body mass and are the closest relative species of Equus conversidens. Therefore, it is a good analogy for understanding the ecological process regarding with population dynamics of extinct Equus conversidens. The population dynamics of Equus quagga are related to multiple factors, including seasonality, predation, environmental conditions, and/or resource availability. Isotopic ecology and palynological studies indicate that savanna-like habitats with floodplains and channels were present in southeastern Hidalgo during the late Pleistocene. This ecosystem sustained several populations of large mammalian herbivores, providing an environment with diverse food plant resources. Suppose we assume that ecological processes that act on the population of Equus conversidens are similar to the process that act on the population of Equus quagga. In that case, we can hypothesize that Equus conversidens population has probably been subject to different predation intensities. However, this should not have been a limiting factor due to the availability of resources and other potential prey for predators. In conclusion, we explored the population dynamics of Equus conversidens using common and recent tools employed in this research area. Mortality pattern of Equus conversidens is a prime dominate profile. Hunting pressure by non-human predators is related to this mortality pattern. Equids from several of selected populations were classified as key strategies in stable ecosystems. Survival is the most critical demographic parameter in the population growth of equids. Predation and resource availability are the primary regulators of equid population dynamics. These are some of the references consulted to carry out this work. Thanks for your attention and the organizing committee for extending you an invitation to participate in this event.